Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News with a special focus on the search for MH370. I'm Jeffrey Thomas and delighted to say that once again joined by my co-host Richard Godfrey, who has taken Whisper technology, worked with it, perfected it as a tracking tool for aircraft and found a new location for MH370. Good morning to you, Richard.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey.
And you're going to start off with the usual update on Armada 7806, please.
Yeah, Armada 7806 is now halfway from the MH370 search area back to Singapore and making good progress. Armada 8601 is halfway across the Indian Ocean to Cape Town and making good progress. And on the weather front, the tropical storm Courtney is starting to die down as we predicted yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. So, Richard, you have got a statement that you would like to make on your behalf, and which I fully support also. Over to you.
Thank you. Um, I would like to thank the viewers who have given us very strong support despite the personal attacks that are being made against us and against me in particular. I Yeah, want to just say thank you. It's quite touching. There are a number of people who discuss my work, and there are people who are in favor of Whisper being able to detect and track aircraft. They are called proponents, and there are those who are not in favor of Whisper being able to detect and track aircraft, and they are called opponents in a scientific discussion. And I am perfectly happy to admit this is a controversial subject. And I've no problem with people telling me that I'm wrong. And I have respect for someone like Victor Yunello, who takes the time to point out why he believes I'm wrong. He says that Whisper was never designed to detect and track aircraft. That's true. He says Whisper's signals are too weak. That's true. He says that the distances are far too long. That's true. He points out there were lots of other aircraft and the air at the time the whisper signal is propagating. That's true. About 20,000 other aircraft. He points out ionospheric fluctuations make it difficult to pick out when a signal to noise ratio changes or a signal frequency with Doppler shift changes, and that is all true. However, others point out, although Whisper was not designed for detecting aircraft, there are many instances where some invention is used for something it was not originally designed for. We also point out it is true the signals are weak, but the weak signal propagation reporter protocol is designed to cope with weak signals. We point out the distances are long, but there's ample evidence of long distance ionospheric propagation. We agree there are 20,000 other aircraft in the air at any one time, but we have ADS-B data and know the position of all of those aircraft, and we can discount them. And we know that there are ionospheric fluctuations for many reasons, but we have understood those, and we adopt a model of the ionosphere. We check the solar flux index. We check whether there are any solar storms, other reasons why ionospheric fluctuations exist. So, someone like Victor Yunello, I respect because he takes the time and he lays out his arguments, and we can have a discussion. Someone like Jeff Wise, who has a science degree from Harvard in evolutionary biology, completely ignores this scientific discussion. I think anyone with a science degree from Harvard is well capable of appreciating the scientific discussion. Instead, he calls me an overt liar, deceitful, dishonest, spreading misinformation, making it all up, leading others astray, causing real harm by doing that. I lack in credibility, I'm not acting in good faith, and I have been proven wrong multiple times. I draw the line when you cease to have a scientific discussion and all you can do is attack someone for holding a particular scientific view. But it gets worse. What Jeff Wise has said in the last couple of days, despite pointing out to him the what he missed in his investigation of me, he carries on and incites others. So, for example, one of Jeff Wise's followers, Annette Mansfield, posted Jeff Wise verbatim on the MH370 Families Facebook page today. And the MH370 Families liked the post by Annette Mansfield. That breaks my heart. But I would ask the viewers, please do not attack Jeff Wise back. I know some of you have put a YouTube episode from yesterday on his website, but that's just a provocation. Please don't attack him back. Please do not attack the MH370 families for liking Annette Mansfield and her verbatim Jeff Wise nonsense. The goal is to find MH370, bring closure to the MH370 families, and aviation safety to the flying public. A wise man once told me, Richard, if you want to get into the mud with the pigs, two things will happen. Firstly, you will get dirty, and secondly, the pigs will love it. And I pass that on to everybody else. There's no point we all get in the mud and fight like pigs.
Thank you, Richard. And for the record, not that I need to state it, I absolutely support Richard's work and I absolutely support his comments. This is all about, and this is what we have always been all about, is finding MH370 wherever it happens to be. If it happens to be in Victor Anello's spot, wonderful. If it happens to be in UWA's hotspot, wonderful. If it happens to be in the Whisper hotspot, even more wonderful. But the whole thing is to bring closure. And one of the things that I might remind detractors or opponents is it's pressure from people like ourselves that has pushed Malaysia into doing something about the search for MH370 because everything they do, it shows that they are just simply not interested, including, for instance, collecting debris found by Blaine Gibson and others that sits in police localities in various islands around the Indian Ocean and has never been collected. So how serious are they about finding MH370? It's public pressure, it's media pressure. That this is what this is all about. So Richard, let's move on. We've had some fantastic comments as you alluded to. Um, so MS Aviation asks, hopefully the time between now and November goes quickly. Yeah, you're not wrong. Thank you for all the updates. Hoping to hear from Ocean Infinity soon and can actually find MH370. You want to comment about that one, Richard?
Yeah. The fact is that Ocean Infinity have told us that when a search agreement is signed, they will make an announcement. They have not made any announcement in recent weeks, in 2025 at all. Um, all we know is that they're heading back before the end of the search season to their home port of Singapore. So I join you, MS Aviation, in hoping we hear from Ocean Infinity soon and look forward to them coming back in November to the search area.
And Kenty says, very impressed with the measured and reasoned reporting on MH370. Succinct and clear. Well done. I
Well,
agree with that one.
yeah. Thank you, Kenty. We try to
Yeah.
be succinct and clear, and measured and reasoned, but it's a bit difficult at times.
Now, this is a very interesting comment, and I love this one. This is a ripper. And I'll try and get the pronunciation right, Richard. It's Peter Athabun 507. And he says, very, very interesting comment. I wonder if militaries all over the world are freaking out about Whisper's implications for defeating stealth tech. Good one.
Actually, Peter, they're not freaking out. They're actually using the technology. Um, I'm not at liberty to tell you too much, but NATO put a paper out many years ago suggesting the idea of using amateur radio as an early warning system and pointed out how that could operate. And since then, NATO have been looking into this technology. My co-author, Dr. Hannes Coetzee, is working on a Pegasus project, which is using detecting radio signals and using those in warfare zone. Um, that's technology is about to be launched in the if the war continues between Russia and Ukraine, for example. So this is highly sensitive stuff. We can't go into it in detail, but I can promise you they're not freaking out, they're using it.
Another very interesting comment, Richard, comes from Mr. Solman, 74. With regard to whisper and aircraft anomalies, as a child, I lived directly under the flight path of one of the runways at Heathrow. And every time a plane went over at around 150 feet, it would interfere with our TV. So clearly, the aircraft was disrupting the signal. Roll forward 60 years, and with modern technology and computers, it's very easy for me to see that those anomalies can be measured and tracked.
Yeah, well, Mr. Solman 74, you're right on the money. Um, Very annoying when your TV program or your radio program gets interfered with by a plane going overhead. Um, but as you point out, in 60 years, modern technology and computers has moved on immeasurably in that field.
If you're living under the flight path of aircraft at Heathrow, your television viewing would be interrupted non-stop.
Indeed, it would.
Now, Tim Moore, 60, and he asked quite a few questions. I'm just picking out one. Have you detected in your analysis any frequencies where the resolution of the calculated location is more or less precise? Does the data used distinguish between transmissions occurring on different frequency bands?
Yeah, Tim, I read your entire set of questions. It almost got me going and writing a paper in response. You ask a lot of very good questions. On the particular question about frequency bands, yes, we do distinguish a whisper link not only by the call sign of the transmitter and the call sign of the receiver, but by the location of the call sign of the transmitter and the location of the receiver. There are many radio amateurs who operate from more than one location with the same call sign. So they have a transmitter at home and they have another transmitter at the holiday cottage or a weekend cottage. Or a remote location, or they actually use a remote location and have a microwave link to that antenna. And we also distinguish each frequency band. So a link is defined by five elements: the transmitter location, transmitter call sign, receiver location, receiver call sign, and frequency band.
Right. Now, Kathy Blake dash I7 Victor. The question is, will you both continue this podcast if Ocean Infinity stops until November? I enjoy your videos and thoughts.
I think you've already answered that
I have.
online,
I
Jeffrey.
answered her and said, yes, we'll continue, but possibly a few times a week. But I wanted you to confirm that, Richard.
Yeah, well, I think as you saw today, we don't have an update on Armada or the weather, which is relevant. Once Armada 7806 has got to Singapore, um, that's fine. We will have an occasional update on the Armada vessels. We know the new Armada 8601 is on its way to Cape Town. 8602 will soon be launched, and 8603, and we'll follow the launch development. By November, it could well be that Ocean Infinity have got several more vessels at their disposal, and we'll watch which one they send to the search area. So there'll be more to talk about on that score. But there are still a number of topics that people are raising and a number of questions. I mean, how many did we have yesterday, Jeffrey? About 380 or something?
380 and counting. They're still going up, and we had 1,500 likes, which was nice. 21
Okay.
dislikes.
You should tell people more often not to like us.
Yes.
That seems to work. But on a serious note, there are other subjects, Kathy, and we'll be covering them. And as Jeffrey said, perhaps not at a daily frequency, but I can imagine certainly a weekly update, and most likely two or three a week.
Yes, and of course, if the questions keep coming with the number we're getting, we'll be spending a lot of time simply answering your questions. So yeah, look forward to it. Now you're going to love this one, Richard. You really will love this one. This is from Trace UK. When I was doing my aviation degree, we learnt about Richard Godfrey and his work. So there you go. So you must be an aerospace engineer after all.
Oh, well, I'm sure they are willing to put an aerospace engineer's statements on an aviation course. There is Trace university in Australia where the third year physics students are given whisper data and given the assignment to use the whisper data and see if they can detect and track aircraft with that or not. So you're not the only one who's come across Richard Godfrey during an aviation degree.
Now, this is from Mike Rodent 3164. Don't quite know why he's chosen that name, but anyway. Um, Jeffrey and Richard, the question, and this has been asked before, but we're going to do it again. Please, can you answer a simple question? Have you truly objective scientific tests of the feasibility and accuracy of Whisper to track jets? Has this been done? The whisper tracking hypothesis was first put about years ago now. After 2 years, I became skeptical because if you can track an aircraft by this means, it would be extremely easy to conduct such a test. Any flight of a plane of any flight of any plane would do on condition the experiments had absolutely no knowledge of the flight path before trying it out using Whisper. What's actually happening?
Oh, lots happening, Mike Rodent 3164. Um, you talk about the fact that the whisper hypothesis has been put out now it's 4 years ago. In that time, we've written 15 papers on the subject and published those. We've analyzed literally hundreds of aircraft and published the results of those analyses. And we have said many times that there are people like Professor Simon Maskell, my co-author on those papers, who has got a team at University of Liverpool who are doing thousands of aircraft. They're tracking the data from ADS-B against the data from Whisper, and they're measuring uh, scientifically uh, the detection rate of Whisper, uh, and if you can detect an aircraft over a series of time slots during its flight, you can then track an aircraft. So a lot is happening. And I mentioned my other co-author, Dr. Hannes Coetzee, and he is working using this technology currently for a project called the Pegasus Project, which you can several YouTube videos online about his project. So you can look it all up. You can watch the YouTube videos if you want. You can read the papers if you want, and there will be more papers being published in later this year in the IEEE journal, and you can read those, and we'll let you know when they're published.
Also, for Mike, I'd mention that two things. First of all, look below and you'll see Whisper Explained subheading, another section of our YouTube channel. And there's 3 videos there that walk you through all of that. But also, Richard, you may remember we first met when you approached me 4 years ago or more to be the adjudicator of 4 blind tests
Yeah.
where all you were given was the runway, the heading, and the time, and you had to track 4 different aircraft to their destination. These were aircraft flight plans that were not on ADS-B, and you successfully did that. So that was what kicked off our relationship.
Yeah, that was a fun experiment.
It was great fun. It was really, really, really interesting. I felt as though, wow, this is the edge of science, and I'm part of it. I'm just adjudicating it, but I felt part of it. So yeah.
And let me
And
tell you an interesting story on that one. There's a guy called Tony Romeo
oh
who
yes,
runs a company called Deep Sea Vision. He is well known for his search for Amelia Earhart. And he has and another director in the company called Craig Wallace, who used to work developing the Hugin 6000 AUV at Kongsberg. And these two gentlemen are really expert and in underwater search and want to uh, go and look for MH370, not just interested in Amelia Earhart. And Tony Romeo said to me, Richard, I'm going to. He's a private pilot license guy. I'm going to fly out from Charlottesville, where I live, over the Atlantic Ocean. I'm just going to let you know the time and date of departure from Charlottesville, but I'm not going to tell you where we're going to go. And I'm going to fly some weird pattern, which I will only keep to myself. We will record that. I'll have a guy with a camera in the cockpit, and we will then ask you to tell us what flight route did we take, and then we'll compare what you say with what's recorded on the camera actually happened. And I said straight away, Tony, that's fine. Let's get it arranged. And he said, thank you. That's all I need to know. Your willingness to do it convinces me. So we
Yeah.
didn't actually do the experiment, which is a shame. I would have liked to have done that, but
Yeah.
uh, maybe we can do that another time.
Okay, the Oz 2850 says, do you believe technical issues could be true reason for them giving up for this season? Somehow that was my first thought.
No, I don't think Ocean Infinity gave up due to technical reasons. I think they have a brand new ship, which and they carry a substantial number of spares. So if they do have a problem, they're well able to fix most problems in the middle of the Indian Ocean. So technical issues is not a reason. The weather is a different matter. The weather was not terrible, but it was also not nice, and they could see the weather starting to close in, so that may well have um, had a bearing on their decision to return to Singapore. Um, but I don't think it was technical issues.
Yes, and if it was weather and if a contract was signed, they could have simply said, well, look, we'll finish up just here and we'll move further north to the Whisper area and do some bathymetric work there before going somewhere else.
Yeah, the weather further north is a lot nicer and stays good for longer. But it appears that they have finished for this season and the search season, and the next uh, search season starts in November. Uh, when the nice weather in the southern hemisphere comes back, and then I expect that they'll be out in force.
So one final question from Extra Crispy. Was it OI's plan to only do a survey now and do a search later? Seems rather anticlimactic after all the news that a search won't start till November. Can you possibly talk to that one?
Yeah, they were doing survey work, and as a precursor to doing search. Of course, if they find something during the survey, they stop the survey and investigate what they've found. But we discussed that yesterday is not something that's done in just a day or two. It takes a bit longer. Um, and it does appear a bit anticlimactic. And I have to, join you extra crispy in that view. Uh, on the other hand, Ocean Infinity have told us they will make a public statement as soon as the contract is signed and as soon as they're ready to search. So uh, we'll wait for them to make their statement.
Okay, well, look, thank you, Richard, for answering those questions. Viewers, we're sort of running out of time today, and we do thank you very much indeed for your comments. We thank you very much indeed for your support, and we do like the likes, no question about it. And do tune in tomorrow for another edition of Daily Airline News. And Richard, once again, thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.